Okay then guys, strap yourselves in for another YouTube video, Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be talking about Hedera Hashgraph once more, or Hedera, HBAR, however you want to call it. Of course, HBAR is the native token of the Hedera Hashgraph. We are going to be talking in this video about Hedera Hashgraph being used to tokenize real estate. And this is just one aspect and one thing going on within the broader Hedera ecosystem. This channel is probably going to become the #1 spot for Hedera Hashgraph content as a result of me really stumbling down the Hedera rabbit hole and it making a hell of a lot of sense from a governing council point of view, to the technology point of view, to the partnership point of view, to the positioning point of view. Just everything about Hedera makes sense. And it makes a lot of sense to me that Hedera is going to be one of the big winners of the crypto space, of this kind of revolution that's taking place. We know Hedera is a DAG, not a blockchain, but there are unique properties that DAGs offer that linear kind of blockchains just simply don't. And we've done a write-up on DAGs versus blockchains over at allincrypto.com. We also covered in our last video the fact that Hedera had partnered with the largest asset manager, Aberdeen, that used to be Standard Life in the UK. And this is just one of 29 amazing sort of governing council members that they have that are actively integrating, whether it be through tokenization or through integrating into technology systems. Hedera, they're actively all trying to push and promote it. And today we're going to be covering Quarter Homes, which is a platform that is seeking to revolutionize and unlock a massive pool of liquidity in the real estate market. Not only that, provide cheaper and affordable solutions to people looking to buy a home through partnering them up with investors and saving a lot of costs via that way. And the amazing thing is that these guys are doing it through a service called Toco, which is a tokenization service that is regulated, and Toco leverage Hedera Hashgraph. So we're going to be going down that rabbit hole in this video. I do apologize for the dump of Hedera content, but when we see something like Quant, it was like us harping on about Chainlink in the last bear market, 2008, 2019. Of course, 2009 we'd have a far bigger channel to do, but and Chainlink, of course, wasn't about then. But when we see something that we genuinely think is going to transform the space and be a real winner, like many of the ones that we called out in the last bear market, sorry, then we talk about it a lot. And I do actually think Hedera is going to be that. So let's get into the video, guys. We are going to be talking about Quarter Homes and their partnership, albeit a little bit indirectly, with Hedera. So the first thing I want to do is play a clip of their CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, actually introducing Quarter Homes to us. Then we'll talk about how it works, how they tokenize things, how the tokenization of things works, and then we'll look at their relationship with Hedera. And I love it. There's so many blockchains out there that just do nothing, and the tokens have no I wouldn't say no value, because they do have a value, but there's no real world application there. Hedera, this is one of the hundreds to be thousands and tens of thousands of applications that people are going to use Hedera for. So let's dive into the video, guys.
Less and less affordable or achievable, especially at the starter home level. Can you tell us a little bit about Quarter Homes and their role in helping to solve that problem?
Yeah, and that's exactly why Quarter came into existence. We have a team of really smart mortgage and finance and real estate professionals who saw the problem and thought, okay, let's try to figure out how to solve this and make home ownership more affordable, more accessible to people who currently are locked out of the traditional mortgage sector. And it was funny because when we started, the team came together and said, let's think about how to make the mortgage industry more efficient using new technologies. And we spent a bunch of time and we went out and talked to a bunch of people, and it became very clear very quickly to us that there really wasn't a way to make the mortgage industry more efficient in a way that the mortgage industry was ever going to accept. There's so many people along the value chain that are getting little pieces and parts of the capital that the homeowner, the consumer, is paying, but they're just getting little pieces. They don't see the way to make it more efficient. And so we just decided, let's throw the whole thing away and start from the ground up. And that's where Quarter came from.
All right. And
So there we have a brief introduction into Quarter. Let's head over to their website and take a little look at their website. This is, of course, Quarter Homes, bringing homeowners and investors together for a better alternative to mortgages. Through our innovative platform and hassle-free system, we connect homeowners with investors for faster, easier, and less expensive home financing. For homeowners and buyers, for investors, we'll read this one quickly. Buying a home has never been so hard and unaffordable. Too many of us are forced to be renters when we'd rather own a home. With mortgage rates at near 20-year highs and continuing to rise, homeownership feels out of reach until now. Quarter provides an alternative to traditional mortgages as a way to buy your home. It is equity-based financing, not debt, which is a very important feature here. So instead of a debt, it's an investment. The investors are investing in your home, not lending you the money that they get equity out of, and you essentially... Blockchain. This whole channel exists for things like this, to highlight the ways that blockchain is absolutely gags, crypto. I know Hedera is not a blockchain. Forgive me, guys. We're blockchain eccentric. This is what this is all about. And Hedera, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, and we, to be totally transparent, are investors in Hedera. It's doing very, very well. So back to the article. No debt. With Quarterly, you share ownership with co-investors, but you get to live in the home, just like having a mortgage, but your monthly payments are up to 50% cheaper than having a mortgage. Actual savings may vary, and Quarterly is cheaper than local rent too. Now home ownership is within reach. This is transforming the entire property landscape. It really is. And of course, there are going to be casualties from this, I can imagine, but there's also going to be potentially a huge boom that's caused on the back end of this. So I've got the next clip talking a little bit more about how it works from the CEO. And then we're going to talk about tokenization, some of the partnerships, obviously Toco and Hedera, and how they kind of fit into this marvelous venture. So let's get into the second clip, guys.
And so is the goal that you would have, as an investor, you would have a pool of homes that you can potentially invest in, or are you investing in a single home and that, occupant? How would it work?
Yeah, so end state goal is to allow consumers or investors to come in and say, I have $1,000 or I have $1 million that I want to deploy on the Quarter platform. And you can either go in and, say, I really love the Phoenix zip code. I think that's going to appreciate a lot over the next 3 years, and you can deploy your capital there. Or you can say, I just want to spread it across the country, kind of distribute my risk a little bit and distribute it across a wide variety of houses. So it's really up to the investor. It's in their hands, just like it's in the consumer's hands to pick their own house. We don't have a pool of houses that they have to pick from. They can go out and find their dream home and buy it through Quarter.
Okay. And so say now I've been looking and I finally found my dream home. It's maybe a little bit out of my reach in terms of the total budget or the down payment. What does it look like interacting with Quarter Homes from the consumer or the buyer side?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, right, the cool thing is we're so much cheaper than a traditional mortgage. So you can actually kind of expand your purchase price a little bit and keep your debt to income relatively low. The other piece of it, right, is if you're coming to Quarter, we give you what we call a minimum retained equity, which is based on your credit profile, based on your income. That's how much of the home you have to own. So let's say it's 5% of the home that you need to come in, purchase. The investors will make up the other 95%. If you don't have that 5% down payment, say, you just haven't been able to save because you're shoveling money out to rent every month, and so you haven't been able to build up that little nest egg. What you can do is we have a whole program kind of designed to allow people to still get into homes even without that big down payment burden, despite the fact that it's still a much smaller down payment burden than a traditional mortgage. And it's called our Impact Investment Fund. And that allows for investors to come in, play the part of down payment assistance, and get paid back over time. For the consumer, they're still paying, at that point, they'll be paying market rent until they pay it off. And then they're back down to below market rent values.
Okay.
Wow. It truly is pretty spectacular what they are doing. And of course, the fact that they are leveraging Hedera is something we're going to get into in just a second. But this is truly revolutionizing the property market. This is going to be a trend that you're going to see explode. And the thing with tokenization is it doesn't just transform the already existing legacy system that we have, it creates new entire financialized instruments to the tune of hundreds of trillions of dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, share this content about. You don't get this content anywhere else on YouTube where we do these deep dives. And also go over and check our website at allincrypto.com. We are giving a fair representation right at the front to Hedera, which is where we believe it belongs. Let's move on to tokenization now, a little bit about how that works, and then we'll explore the partnerships, of course, Toco, and then Hedera, direct or indirectly.
Got it. And then, you mentioned a little bit that all of this is made much easier because you can tokenize these assets. Are you able to sort of walk us through that side of it and, how you're using the Hedera platform, how you're using Toco, how those things come together, and maybe if that is even presented to the consumer or if that's just happening in the back end?
Yeah, so for the consumer, they don't really touch any of the tokenization aspect of it. We really wanted to keep it simple for them, keep it straightforward, feel like, I'm just going through a traditional mortgage with a different flavor. On the investor side, that's really where you get into the nitty-gritty of the tokens, and it's super cool and super exciting, and I can nerd out a lot about it. But I'll kind of give the quick rundown. So Quarter actually exists as a multi-token ecosystem. So we have several tokens that we issue over the lifespan of a house, and it makes for some really interesting and unique value propositions. So we talk about the tokenization of the property itself. So that's, $1, you get one token. So if a house costs $200,000 and an investor comes in with 150 of that, they'll get 150,000 of what we call asset tokens. And these are linked to a specific property. They entitle you to your TIC fee that you get on a monthly basis from the home occupant. They entitle you to your fair share of appreciation, which comes in the form of the other token we have, which is our HPI token. And then you're also entitled to your pro rata rights of the sale proceeds when and if the house sells off of the Quarter platform. The HPI tokens, HPI standing for Home Price Index, represent exactly that, right? The value increase or decrease of the property over time. And the cool thing about Quarter is that we're able to pull those forward to being distributed on an annual basis. So traditionally you buy a home and you have to wait until it sells to realize that appreciation. But because of this tokenization, we're able to pull that forward and release that appreciation on an annual basis to the investor. And that token is actually backed by all of the appreciation of all of the properties on the Quarter platform. So it can rise and fall. It's more like an index than anything to the entire market that we have.
Pretty interesting. It's a new thing that's being explored. Now let's not waste any time and get into their kind of partnership, of course, with Toco, and then indirectly through Hedera that Toco leverage.
And to speak a little bit about the partners that we have with Toco and Hedera, we love both of those people. Very glad to be here and talking with you about this. But Toco's been outstanding. We connected to them through DLA, who's our legal firm that we've been working with to really thread the needle on security laws and consumer protection laws. But they've been an outstanding partner through and through, really working with us to understand how the tokens will work, how they'll be minted, what type of metadata we can put into those tokens, and smart contracts, and all of those pieces that are kind of behind the scenes for most people. And on Hedera, we love because we can go to meetings and someone will say, oh, I don't know about this distributed ledger technology, FTX, whatever. And then we pull up the Hedera governing council page and immediately they're like, oh, okay, these guys are serious. They know what they're talking about. And so it's really nice to have that really solid, really, adult-like presence in the industry. It's great.
Yeah, and I think,
You have it. So they mentioned Toco, which we're going to go over to now. This is Toco, who they're referring to. They mentioned DLA Piper, who's the legal firm. So let's start with Toco first. Toco's how they sort of tokenize things. The digital asset creation platform. Toco empowers value creation by covering the spectrum of the token life cycle, giving asset owners the power to tokenize assets that are traditionally illiquid and making them investable. It goes on, what we do, Toco empowers value creation by covering a reward spectrum. Toco offers asset owners a new way to raise capital and facilitate a marketplace for investors purchase these digital assets, giving asset owners the power to tokenize traditional illiquid assets. Talks about a number of things, talks about labs, talks about labs addresses organizational inefficiencies with blockchains and distributed ledger technology solutions by combining legal, operational, and technical experts. This is the announcement between Hedera and Toco. So DLA Piper has integrated the Hedera token service, HTS, into its Toco tokenization platform to enhance the performance, security, and stability of enterprise-grade digital assets. It talks about Toco, and it then goes on to say, Toco is a digital asset creation engine created by DLA Piper, a Hedera governing council member. This is the thing with the governing council. One thing that's often thrown against Hedera is their centralization due to the governing council. We could actually put up an argument to say, actually, if you look at other blockchains and where their servers are and stuff like that, there's an element of more centralization with some of these blockchains in terms of points of failure. However, the governing council are very active and actually one of the kind of guiding lights, I think, for Hedera. It then goes on to talk about capital markets. Toco utilizes Hedera for non-fungible asset tokenization in two distinct ways. The first is through the Hedera token service, HTC, where native non-fungible tokens represent assets that are issued directly to account on the Hedera public network without the need for expensive and potentially faulty smart contracts. The second is for more sensitive transactions and uses a combination of blockchain technology, specifically Hyperledger Fabric, HLF, and Hedera's consensus service. Toco issues and manages tokens through a private instance of HLF, but for every transaction writes a fairly ordered, encrypted, and publicly verifiable message to the Hedera public blockchain using HCC. This is a combination of brings together the privacy of HLF with the trust and verifiability of transactions on the Hedera public network. By utilizing HTS, Toco overcomes the smart contract tokenization limitations through the effectiveness of Hedera's underlying hashgraph consensus algorithm. Wow. There we go, guys. This is just another tick for Hedera, another area in finance that's been revolutionized by Hedera, its hashgraph and some of its ecosystem players. And we spoke about Aberdeen and what they're doing, and we'll continue to bring you. We'll probably cover every single council member and their involvement with Hedera and explore those partnerships. But we'll continue to bring you the latest and greatest, inspiring, I guess, Hedera hashgraph content on a regular basis. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. A like and a comment is always appreciated. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Do go and check out allincrypto.com for a write-up on this, and we'll see you in the next one.